Hi guys! Welcome back to another video, as we will be creating this beautiful design together, a travel app by Aksonvady, one of our best UI designers. I'm excited to guide you through the process of recreating and teaching you how to make this design. Throughout the video, we'll start with the structure of our design with wireframes. And we'll create complex layout and discover the incredible potential of auto layout and its new features like min width and max width. We'll also have some enjoyable experimentation with colors and gradients. I'll combine linear and angular techniques to introduce cool 3D effects to specific elements. We will complete our design by seamlessly integrating mid-journey images to our cards and craft a unique and custom tab bar. Are you ready? So follow me and let's get started. I've already begun working on this design, which isn't currently accessible on YouTube. However, you can find them on our official website. If you're a Design Code subscriber, you'll have access to all these designs, including the prototype. Don't worry, I'm still sharing my Figma file with the community about what you'll be learning and creating with me today. Today, we'll extend the design by creating additional pages. After that, you'll dive into the prototype concept in another upcoming video taught by Sarani. As you can see, we have several screens, and I can't show you how to design them all in one video. These two designs have already been done. I plan to recreate these 3 screens for today's session, which will be the stays category. However, this one is much more interesting, the boarding ticket for the flight, and I look forward to guiding you through designing a realistic effect using gradients. Of course, it won't perfectly match the 2 screens I chose just now, but it will complement the designs I started with. As an exercise, I suggest you reproduce this screen. It's pretty simple, and you don't need my help. This screen represents the selected room, displaying details such as title, price, and booking buttons. For those who missed the first part of my course, I mentioned the inspiration that triggered my creativity for my travel app design. This design is inspired by this image generated on Midjourney, so I took inspiration from it, without copying it too much, and added my personal touch. Before getting started, you'll need my Figma file, which will give you access to the designs we will reproduce together, including color styles, prompts, and images. The first step is building the foundation of our app, and that's where wireframing plays a vital role. Wireframes are often used early in the design process before more detailed visual design work is done to help establish the interface's basic structure. Ensure that all the necessary elements are included and don't have detailed design elements like colors, images, or typography. It typically consists of simple lines and shapes. We need a frame for the presentation and for the iOS design. You are probably familiar with the frame, which is a rectangular container that supports various design components such as shapes, text, images, and layers. Frames are invaluable for creating precise layouts, managing responsive design on different screen sizes, and keeping related elements together. To activate this tool, press the keyboard shortcut F or select the Frame tool in the toolbar. In the right sidebar, select a frame preset. You will see presets for popular devices and asset templates. We will choose the presentation, slide 16:9, with a dimension of 1920 by 1080. Choose a preset that aligns with your target devices when designing for a particular device or screen size. We'll choose the iPhone 14 Pro, set the corner radius to 40, and duplicate 2 more. The shortcut is Command+C to copy and Command+V to paste. Set the spacing between them to 100. A limited color palette for wireframes is recommended, ideally in the same tone. The primary focus of wireframes is to establish the structure, layout, and functionality of a design rather than the visual aesthetics. We'll use these 3 colors in a different shade of navy blue. I've prepared the color style for you, so all you need to do is choose from the 3 available colors. I won't mention it every time, but remember to change the color whenever you create a new shape. Select your shape, click on the Style panel where you'll find the 4-dot icon. From there, navigate to the Colors section and ensure it's set to the wireframe category. Now we're going to bring the 3 iPhone 14 Pro frames inside the presentation frame. make sure to align them in the center of the frame. Ensure you have a copy of Apple's first official design kit for Figma, Apple Design Resources, iOS 17 and iPadOS 17. It contains a comprehensive set of components, views, system interfaces, text styles, color styles, materials, and layout guides. To use the components, you can use them directly in your Figma file, but you'll need to have a paying account. Otherwise, they won't work. If you have a free account, you may take them directly from your copy of Apple Design Resources. Go to Assets next to Layers and type Status Bar in the search field. Place it at the top of the frame. Next, we'll require the Home indicator, which should be positioned at the bottom of the frame. Ensure that both are centered within your frame. Select the status bar and go to the component properties and remove background. Repeat the same process for the other screen. I'm just going to copy and replace them. We'll start with the first page, the Stays Input field. We will create a curved layout like a message bubble shape. This bubble shape is typically a rounded rectangle and has a tail-like pointer. Press on R to activate the rectangle tool and set the width size to 373 and 574 to the height size. Go to Independent Corners, set 48 on the top left and right, then the bottom left corner radius. Now, to curve the shape, we're going to use the Bend tool, which allows you to curve or reshape selected objects such as lines or shapes along a defined path. Switch to Edit Object and add a point to the bottom center of our shape. Then select the left and middle points and move upwards of 40 pixels. When you press Shift plus the up key once, you go up 10 pixels. So if I want to go up 40 pixels, I'll press the up key 4 times while pressing Shift. Select the middle point again and move it to the right. Still with the same point, activate the Bend tool. Play with the paths between the point until you get the curve you want. We've finished creating the base of our layout. We're going to create squares that will be the booking options for hotels, cars, activities, and more. First of all, we're going to change the color of our curved shape. Then press on R to activate the rectangle tool and create a square of 100 by 100. Set 20 on the corner radius and change the color. Below, create a rectangle of 50 by 17 for the title. Group everything and name by item 1. Duplicate 2 more. The spacing between them is going to be 32. I'm going to change the color to have better contrast. Now we'll create the horizontal layout. Click on the R key and draw a rectangle that's 350 by 60 pixels. Set the corner radius to 30. Now, press O to activate the ellipse tool and create a circle that's 44 by 44 pixels. Place the circle on the left with a spacing of 8 pixels on the top, bottom, and left. For the text, create a rectangle that's 200 by 18 pixels. Group all these elements together and name the group Location. Duplicate this group twice and name the duplicates Date and Passenger. The spacing between each of these groups is 20 pixels. The final step for the first screen is to design a slider that scrolls the destination images from right to left. To do this, we'll use rectangles of different sizes. Press on R. The first rectangle will measure 200 by 236 and set the corner radius to 20. Change the color and duplicate the rectangle. We will change the color and the size to 183 by 216. Align it in the center of the rectangle and then duplicate and place it on the left. Place the rectangle layers behind the first rectangle. The spacing of the two smaller rectangles and the bigger one will be 40. Now duplicate one of the rectangles and change the color and the size to 161 by 190. The spacing of the two smaller rectangles and medium rectangles will be 40. Next, group everything and name the layer by slider. Bring it in the frame. I'm going to change the color to have better contrast. Now it's missing the title and create a rectangle of 146 by 21 and fill it with a color. Let's move on to the second screen. We will create a rectangle of 358 by 351. Set the corner radius to 30. We will make another rectangle, where we will add contents, so the size is 358 134 and sets the corner radius 20. Finally, I will change the corner radius of the bigger rectangle to 20. Group the two rectangles and name the layer by layout 1. Duplicate, and the spacing is going to be 24. Create another rectangle of 117 by 44 for the button. Now, navigate to the top. We're going to create circle of 44 by 44 for the top navigation. Duplicate and place it at the right. We're going to add two other rectangle of 130 by 17 for the texts. Now let's jump to the third page. We'll copy and paste the curved shape from the first page into this frame. We're going to change the height size to 365. We need to edit the shape again. Go to Edit Mode, select the 2 points on the left and the one in the middle, and move it up. Again, press on R and create a rectangle of 72 by 120. Set 30 on the corner radius. Duplicate 3 more and set the spacing to 20. This layout will be used for the price tracking. We're going to create a rectangle for our title. Honestly, the size doesn't matter because we're going to replace it with a text later. In this area, I would like to incorporate a toggles button. Its dimensions will be 51 by 32. Apply a corner radius of 30. Inside, add a circle with dimensions 28 by 28. Place the circle on the right, 2 pixels from the rectangle. Left of the toggle will create a rectangle for the text. Group everything and name the layer by price tracking. At the bottom of our page, we will create rectangles that will serve as boarding tickets. The dimensions should be 353 by 119. Set the corner radius to 20 and create 2 more duplicates. The spacing between the rectangles will be 20 pixels. Currently, the spacing is only temporary. Once we add the text, the spacing may be subject to change. I'm going to lower the rectangles to create a little space for the text. We'll create a rectangle that will be reserved for the title of this part, so the size of the rectangle doesn't matter. We also need a button at the bottom of our page. For the button, we're going to duplicate it from the second page and position it at the bottom, over the home indicator. For the top navigation, utilize an ellipse of 44 by 44. I'm going to copy from the second frame. Position it at the top left just below the status bar. Next, in the middle next to the circle, create a rectangle that will serve as the title. As I mentioned, the size doesn't matter at this point. The last step in this part is to give names to the layers. The initial frame will be called Stays Page, and then we'll ensure we correctly name the shapes. The second frame will be Search Rooms. Again, it's essential to name the layers accurately. The final one will be either Price Tracking or Search Flight, a page where we search for affordable tickets. Make sure you name the layers correctly and you're finished. So, that's it for this section. The next section will be more interesting, where we'll create layouts with auto layout and add colors and gradients. See you in the next section. Typography involves the art and technique of arranging type to make written language legible, readable, and visually appealing. In this section, we'll talk about typography and icons and then incorporate them into our wireframe. So let's do it. Typography is a subject I've discussed in detail in my latest videos. I won't go into detail, but I'll talk about what we'll incorporate together, like playing with SF width style and font pairing. If you'd like to know more, check out my video on iOS 17 typography on our official website, available for members only. Also, you can check out our YouTube channel, where in almost every video we talk a little about typography. For example, this video, Turn Mid-Journey UI to Web Design, is accessible to everyone. Choosing the right typeface sets the tone for your app. We will use the SF Pro font, which belongs to the San Francisco font family. SF Pro is a flexible and balanced sans serif font chosen as the main font for iOS, iPad OS, Mac OS, and tvOS systems. It offers 9 different weights, variable optical sizes, 4 widths, and a rounded option, all designed to enhance readability. For icons, stay on the same website, just go to the SF Symbols category. Make sure you download the latest version of SF Symbols 5 Beta, a collection of 5,000 symbols created by Apple for their software on devices like iPhones, Macs, and more. It comes in 9 weights and 3 scales and automatically align with text. Let's take a look at the design we're going to create together. You can see that I've played a lot with typography. I've stayed with the same font family, the San Francisco font, but I've played a lot with the font weights, the regular width, and the new width styles. The reason for this? It's simply to make it more interesting. Otherwise, you may continue with the general rule of typography for iOS. Font weight is where you decide how thick the strokes of the letters will be. The SF Pro font has various font weights such as ultralight, thin, light, regular, medium, semi-bold, bold, heavy, and black, including italics. San Francisco offers 3 additional width styles: condensed, for a narrow, space-saving look; compressed, the most compact style available; and expanded, which offers a wider spectrum. These new options offer a fantastic opportunity to enhance the expression of your designs and unlock new creative possibilities. As a best practice, it's best to avoid mixing too many different typefaces because it can obscure your information hierarchy and hinder readability. For our case, I've already mentioned that I'll be sticking with the San Francisco font, but I'll be playing with the size and width styles and weights, so we're good. In general, avoid light font weights to help maintain readability. Prefer regular, medium, semi-bold, and bold font weights, and avoid ultralight, thin, and light font weights, which can be challenging to see, especially when the text is tiny. Also differentiate headers, subheaders, and body text to guide users through content. Headers should be larger and bolder, while body text remains smaller for comfortable reading. It's very important to ensure sufficient contrast between text and background to maintain legibility. High contrast enhances readability, especially for users with visual impairments. It's also important to consider the line height, or the spacing between lines of text. A good line height can improve readability and reduce eye strain. A general guideline is to use a line height of 1.5 times the font size, but this can also vary depending on the font and layout. Now let's go back where we left off. We've got our wireframe in place and start with the first frame. We'll incorporate typography and icons. I'll also use auto layout, but I'll only explain that in the next section. For the title of the first frame, I'll play with the width style. Press T to activate the text tool and write the name of your travel app. I will write Life Trip. I really like this name. I will choose the expanded bold style with a font size of 24. Then I'm going to select the label Primary Dark Color style from Apple. Then ensure to align the text to the left and set it to auto width. You can remove the shape behind the text, and the spacing from the frame should be set to 20. We'll now proceed to the curved layout. At the bottom of the squares, we'll write categories like flights, stays, and cars. We're going to use the bold style with a font size of 16. I won't mention it every time, but always remember to select Align Left and Auto Width. Then copy the text and delete it. After that, paste to replace the rectangle. Open your SF Symbols app and look for the icon that corresponds to our flights category, such as the airplane symbol. To use it, just copy the symbol and paste it into our current document. We're going to keep medium and the size 36. Change the color to white and reduce the opacity to 60%. Ensure that your layer is within the correct frame and located within the appropriate group, named Item 1. Select both the symbol and the rectangle and place them inside a frame. Name this frame as Icon and ensure that the symbol is centered within the frame. Next, apply auto layout to both the icon frame and the text. Once that's done, name the new frame by flight, and you can proceed to delete the initial group. Then, set to align center in the alignment box and 8 on the spacing between items. Copy the new frame and paste to replace the other groups. Now, change the text and the icons. Once you've finished replacing the text and icon, name your layers. Let's move on to the horizontal layout. First of all, I'm going to choose an icon to go with location. I'll opt for a globe. Copy the symbol and then paste into the canvas. Set to medium and the size will be 18. Also change the color to white. We're going to use the auto layout to create the horizontal layouts. Select the globe symbol and then place it within an auto layout container. Remember, the shortcut for this is Shift+A. For the resizing in the frame property, switch to a fixed width and height setting. Adjust the size to 44 by 44. Fill with a wireframe color. Set the corner radius to 50. You can delete the old shape. I'm going to put it next to the horizontal layout so that we may better see what I'm doing. So our layout is the same size as the circle, but it's square. We need to set the corner radius to 50. We'll copy, delete, and then paste to replace the circle. Let's add some text. Tap the T key, type in Phuket, Thailand. Choose medium font and set size to 15. Make the text white but soften it by reducing opacity to 60%. Now, we will put the icon and text together in an auto layout. We can delete the rectangle, so select the icon and the text and add an auto layout. In the auto layout properties, set to alignment in the center, set 8 on the spacing between items, and put 8 on the horizontal and vertical paddings. I want precisely the same size as the rectangle, so we will change the width size to 350, but we must select fixed. Now we must align left, fill with a color, and set 30 on the corner radius. Copy and paste to replace to the t'other group, then name the layers. I just remembered that I needed to add a shape for my search button and a title for this second section of my page. Don't worry, we'll create it together. Press T and type search using medium with the size of 17. Make sure to set to align left and auto width and keep the color white. Next, hit Shift+A to add auto layout. Go to the frame section, select fixed width and height, and change the size to 330 by 44. Then fill with a wireframe color and set the corner radius to 30. Now let's add a title for this section. Because of my curved layout, the point of the bubble shape takes up space, so I have less room for my title, which is why I'm going to opt for compressed bold but using uppercase. Press on T and type Ideas for your next trip using compressed bold. Go to Advanced Type Settings and choose uppercase. Keep the size to 17 and the color white. We will do the spacing at the end of the design process. Let's move on to the third page. Let's start with the top navigation. In Apple's UI components, you'll find a navigation bar. Go to an asset, look for the navigation bar, and bring it into the frame. We'll replace the old status bar, but first, delete the circle and the rectangle. Then copy the navigation bar, delete it, then paste to replace the old status bar. You'll see that it's very easy to modify component properties. Select the navigation bar component and go to the component properties. Change the mode into dark mode. Next, remove the background, the search, and the trailing. We only need the leading and the title. Select the contents inside the navigation bar and go to Selection Colors, change it to Label Secondary Dark. Then go back to the navigation bar properties and change the text to Back next to the left label field. For the title, choose your starting point and your destination. So I'm from Montreal, and the airport's name is Montreal Trudeau International Airport. The abbreviation for Montreal Trudeau Airport is YUL. Then I want to travel to Tokyo, so the abbreviation is NRT. Under the title, I would like to add the chosen date and the number of passengers, but I can't modify the component. Even if I try to duplicate a text so that it's in the same container, it doesn't work. So I have to detach the instance, which means I remove the component. Let's remove the text and go to the component properties. Click on the three dots icons to go to the instance options. Then click on Detach Instance. This will turn the component into a regular container with an auto layout. Select the text and duplicate it. Select both text and add an auto layout. Align it in the center of the content container. For the second text, change to a chosen date and the number of passengers. Next, go to Alignment box and set to Align Center in the Auto Layout section. For the chosen date and the number of passengers, we're going to change the size of the text to, let's say, 15. I think I'm going to choose from the Apple text style the smallest font size, which is the caption 12 regular, and then change the color to secondary dark. Also, I have too much text in the navigation bar, so I'm going to remove the back text. Then let's move on to the curved layout. Let's add a title for the curved layout. Press T and type in price tracking using expanded bold with a font size of 24. Set it to align to the left and have an auto width. After that, we can delete the rectangle behind the text. Make sure the spacing between the title and the curved shape is 24 from the top, and of course ensure that it's horizontally centered. Taking the first rectangle here, we're going to create a layout for prices. This time, I'm not going to use an auto layout. We'll place the rectangle in a frame. Inside the frame, we'll add price. Hit T and type CA, the abbreviation for Canadian money. Set to align left and have an auto width. Then, change the font weight to semi-bold with a size of 16. Afterward, duplicate the text and position it below. Change the text to a random price, let's say $635. I'll add another text and type current lowest price. So you can see I don't have much space in my container. I'll have to choose the compressed width style, so choose compressed and regular with the size of 11. Again, you can see I still don't have enough space in my container, so we're going to change the resizing property for the text. We're going to choose auto height instead. It will wrap any lines that extend beyond the original width of the text layer to a new line. Next, we're going to change the horizontal alignment to center. After that, name the layer to price. I realize that it makes no sense for the price to be so cheap for a flight from Montreal to Tokyo, so I changed the price for $950. Place the first text at the top with a spacing of 24 at the top, right, and left. Then put the last text at the bottom with a spacing of 8. For the price, a spacing of 40 towards the bottom of the frame. Then copy the frame and paste to replace the other rectangles. Under Price Layout, we'll add another text. Press on T and select the compressed bold with the size of 12, and type, "Simply keep an eye on the price," and we'll collect data for this search. Set to align left and auto height. Then fill with the label Secondary Dark Color Style. Next, type Monitor Prices using semi-bold with the size of 17. Set to align left and auto width, then align with toggle button. Now, let's add a title for the boarding ticket. Type Select Your Departure using the compressed bold with the size of 17. Below it, type Prices May Change Until Purchase using the compressed bold 12 and change the color to label Secondary Dark Color Style. So we're done for this section. We'll continue with the rest in the next section where we'll learn more about auto layout. See you soon. Welcome back! In the previous section, we added typography and icons to our design. Let's focus on auto layout to create a more complex layout for our projects. We'll dive deep into how the auto layout works, and you'll discover its incredible potential. Get ready to explore the exciting ways you can use auto layout to improve your designs. Now, let's talk about auto layout, our main topic of this section. Auto layout automates the arrangement and resizing of design elements within a layout. It simplifies the process of creating responsive designs and ensures that elements maintain their relative positions and sizes as the layout adapts to different screen sizes or content changes. This reduces manual adjustments when making design changes. Instead of resizing and moving items individually, designers can set rules for how elements should act when the container changes size. This saves time, especially for complex layouts, while keeping spacing and alignment consistent. The new features is wrapping and controlling the min and max width and height. With wrapping, you can make objects automatically move to the next line when they reach the edge of their containing box. And the min-max width feature lets you set minimum or maximum width and height to any auto layout frame and its children. Auto layout frames can flow in different directions. Let's explore the available options. Vertical. Objects are arranged along the y-axis, perfect for lists, news feeds, and timelines. Horizontal. Objects are aligned along the x-axis, useful for creating rows of buttons or icons. And the new feature, wrap. Objects flow horizontally and wrap to the next line when needed, ideal for photo galleries or tag sets. Next to the direction, you have the alignment box. You can select how to arrange child objects within an auto layout container. The orientation of the auto layout container and the spacing between items will define the alignment choices at your disposal. You have 9 layout options. Now let's talk about the gap between items and the padding in both horizontal and vertical directions. The gap between items enables you to establish spacing, defining the distance or arrangement between elements within an auto layout container. You have 2 different settings, auto and specified gap. A specified gap lets you determine the desired separation between objects. Just enter a value into the provided field or adjust it using the canvas controls, and you'll notice pink handles similar to those used in Smart Selection. Auto lets you arrange objects with the maximum possible distance between them. Padding lets you control the empty space between the edges of an auto layout frame and its child elements. You have the option to apply padding uniformly, both vertically and horizontally, or choose distinct values for padding at the top, right, bottom, and left. Modify the padding using the canvas controls or utilize the spacing fields available in the right sidebar. One of the strongest features of auto layout is how it can manage the sizes of objects within an auto layout frame. Adjust the parent auto layout frame's resizing behavior to match any alterations you make to their child objects. You can control the resizing settings for objects along both the horizontal x-axis and vertical y-axis individually through the drop-down menus in the right sidebar. Choose Hug Content for an auto layout frame to make it resize based on its child objects. The frame will shrink to the smallest size needed to enclose the objects, all while keeping the padding intact. If you choose an auto layout frame that is set to a fixed width or height, the frame's dimension values remain the same, regardless of the content it contains. The size of the frame does not react to changes in the objects it contains, such as a text string whose length changes. If you select an auto layout frame that's set to fill container, it will expand to match the width and/or height of its parent frame. Min, max width, or height, the new feature, is used to define the minimum or maximum width/height to any auto layout frame and its children. Here I have a card. When I extend the width, it hits a max value. When I decrease the width, it hit the min value. This is useful when you want to have the same card for the website and for the mobile. The cards shrink but stop at the minimum height to avoid distortion. It's really easy to do. I have all the elements for my card. I'll choose them all and press Shift+A to put them in an auto layout. I'll use white color, make it slightly see-through at 10% opacity, and set 10 for both horizontal and vertical spacing. Then I'll open the width drop-down, click Add Min Width, and set it to 353. I'll do the same again, choose Add Max Width, and set it to 480. To make it work, I need to select all the child containers and set them to fill the container. This makes them match the width of the parent frame. It's important to set the direction of the section container to wrap so that it wraps to the next line. Otherwise, it won't work. When you have multiple layers with negative spacing creating a stack, The object positioned last, either at the far right or bottom, will automatically be on top. You can also alter the stack's visual order as it appears on the canvas. Click on the 3 dots icons in the Auto Layout section to access advanced layout settings. Next to canvas stacking, choose between First on Top, where the first layer in the stack will be on top, or Last on Top, which places the last layer in the stack on top. Now, let's return to our wireframe and continue where we left off, at the second frame and the ticket in the third frame. As we keep going with our design, you'll understand auto layout better. You'll also learn about absolute positioning and advanced settings like layout strokes, canvas stacking, and text baseline alignment. We'll start with the second screen and select the bigger rectangle. Decrease the height size to 278 and place the rectangle into a frame. We will fill the frame with an image in the next section. Press on T and write a name of the hotel. I'm going to type Mimaru Suites Osaka using the SF Pro text in semi-bold. Set to align left, auto width, and the size is going to be 20. Now, click on T and type cost in semi-bold with a font size of 13. Go to the advanced stroke options and select uppercase. Keep the text color as white and lower the opacity to 60%. Next, click on T once more and write $300 CAD night. Return to the advanced stroke settings and disable the uppercase option for night. Apply the text style sub-headline regular. Select cost and the price texts. Add auto layout by pressing on Shift+A. Set 0 on the gap between items and duplicate 2 more. Then select the 3 new frames. Add auto layout again. You may see that my text layout does not fit in my rectangle. I need to choose a size smaller than 15, so we'll change it to 13, the call-out regular text style. We'll make a separation between each section. Click on L to use the line tool. Set the rotation to 90 degrees and the width to 30. Fill it with white color and lower the opacity to 10%. Insert the line into the auto layout sequence. Create a copy and position it between the other 2 elements. Choose the main container and apply the Align Center option from the alignment box, and change the gap between items to 8. Now, modify the title of each section to Maps and Available. Moving to the Maps segment, we require an icon for map. Let's open the SF Symbol app and search for map. Copy the symbol and place it on the canvas. Include it within the auto layout. Once you insert the icon, it will be included in the auto layout sequence. To align the icon and text horizontally, you need to put them in another auto layout and select the horizontal layout option. Afterward, change the text to 257 kilometers away and adjust the spacing between items in the new frame to 8. For the available section, write 5 left. Let's proceed by deleting the small rectangle. Select the hotel name and the parent text container. Place them in an auto layout and fill them with a wireframe color. In the auto layout properties, set the spacing between items to 20, vertical padding to 24, and horizontal padding to 16. Opt for fixed width resizing and adjust the size to 358. Finally, set the corner radius to 20. Now, select the larger rectangle that we've placed within a frame, along with the text block. We're going to add them to an auto layout. Next, I want the text layout to be positioned onto the large rectangle. To achieve this, we'll need to apply negative spacing. I'll use the control on my canvas to drag it upwards. To help identify where I'm stopping, I'll reduce the opacity of the color, making it easier to see. I intend to stop when the 2 elements align in the middle of the edge of my large frame is reached. I'm going to stop at -63, so you can set -63 on the gap between items. I would like to add the rating now. As you can see, my text box has run out of space, so I decide to position my rating at the top center. Press F to create a frame of 164 by 37 and align it at the top center. Within the frame, insert a star icon and resize it to 13 and change the color to white. Next, press on T and write a random rating, let's say 4.1. Along with the number of reviews, I will type 1,648 using regular and the size of 13, and make sure to set to align left and auto width. we're going to place the star icon and the text in auto layout, set 8 on the gap between items value, then align in the center of the frame. Now let's name our layers. I'm the kind of person who never names my layers, but it's very important to do so if you don't want to get lost in your layers. Now I want to add the favorite icon in this area and talk about the absolute position. First, go back to the SF Symbols app, search for heart symbol and bring it here. When you use absolute position for an object, it doesn't follow the regular layout pattern but stays within the overall frame. Of course, it won't affect if you put it in a frame too, so I'll put it on the text box for a better example. You see, when you place a new layer in an auto layout, it follows the same sequence. To activate the absolute position, go to the resizing section and click on the plus icon in the corner. This option lets you put an object exactly where you want it, so the object and nearby elements don't affect each other even when they change size or position. I'm going to place my symbol in the top right corner, change the size to 20, and then place it with a spacing of 20 from the top and right. The final step for this card is to include a control page that allows you to switch and view other images. To do this, navigate to Assets and search for the control page component, then place it within the frame. No need to use the absolute position since I intend to position it within the frame where my image will be displayed. Place it at the top of the text box. Select the frame and clip content, then align it in the center and remove the color. Copy the card frame and paste to replace the layout group, avoiding doing the same thing again. Select all the status bar and home indicator and change the mode to dark mode. We're going to do the same process as we did with the navigation bar in the third frame. Go to Asset and search for Navigation Bar. Replace the status bar and remove the 2 circles. In the component properties, remove background, set to dark mode, and remove the search. Now we need 3 icons. Go to the SF Symbols application and search for symbols bag, date, and person symbols. Copy the bag symbol, then delete it. Paste it to the symbol field in the navigation bar properties. In the text field, change to Osaka, Japan. At the bottom of the navigation bar, we have 2 rectangles left. Delete them and bring the icons. Then, change their color to white at 60%. Next to the date symbol, type the chosen date using the semi-bold with the size of 17. Duplicate the text and change to the number of passenger. Add auto layout for the symbol and the text. With the text baseline, you can align the symbol and the text by their baselines. Click on the 3-dot symbol to open advanced layout settings and click to enable baseline alignment. Then select the 2 new frames, add them in an auto layout. For the resizing, select fixed width and height, change the size to 394 by 44. Align it under the navigation bar. In the auto layout properties, set the alignment to center. Reduce the color to 60%. Now let's go on the third frame in the ticket section. Type a random price using the expanded bold with the size of 16. Then add round trip per passenger below the price using the compressed bold with the size of 12. Now, add the logo Canada. You will find it in my Figma page. Add auto layout for the price and round trip. Then, add auto layout for the text box and the logo. Go to the resizing, choose fixed width and height. Change the size to 152 by 119. Make sure to align in the center in the alignment box. So we've done the first section, and now the other section remains. In the other area, type the departure time and the arrival time. Let's say 1 p.m. to 8 p.m. We didn't use the condensed yet, so we're going to select it with bold and the size of 17. Duplicate the text. Change the text to the departure and the destination using condensed but this time regular, and the size is going to be 12, and reduce the color to 60%. Now duplicate the text and type the flight duration, let's say 13 hours and 35 non-stop. Select the 3 texts and press Shift plus A to add them in auto layout. The spacing between them is 4. Now move to resizing, choose fixed width and height, and change the size to 202 by 119. Go to Alignment in Auto Layout and set it to Align Center. Next, select the two sections, place them in Auto Layout, and set the gap between items to -1. This line will act as the separator between the two sections of the ticket. Name the new layer by flight, then delete the rectangle behind. Select again the flight frame and fill with a wireframe's color. Then set the corner radius to 20, copy the frame, and then replace the other rectangles. We've finished in this section about auto layout. I hope you'll learn more about this topic and create layouts using this feature. We're nearing the end, guys. Don't give up. We still have to add images and colors to bring our design to life. See you soon. Welcome back. Previously, we created layouts using auto layout and incorporated typography and symbols. In this section, we'll bring our UI design to life by introducing colors and gradients to make it pop. So let's do it. For more details on this subject or an in-depth explanation of the principles of color and gradients, you can find all my tutorials about colors and gradients, available on our official website for members only. I meticulously chose the colors for our design project's color palette. This palette serves as a visual foundation, providing designers with multiple options to ensure consistency and cohesiveness throughout the design. The colors we've selected are inspired by the image created by Midjourney, featuring a stunning array of purple, magenta, and pink shades that harmoniously blend together. I utilized the eyedropper tool in Figma to capture colors from the image. This tool enables you to sample colors from existing elements within your project, ensuring consistent color schemes and effortless application to various objects. To use the eyedropper tool, first select the layer to which you want to add a color. Press the I key to activate the eyedropper tool. Move the cursor over an object to see a preview of its color. Click to select the desired color. I recommend visiting Coolors, a fantastic online platform that allows you to generate stunning color palettes, create gradients, and even use contrast checkers to ensure optimal legibility between text and background. Gradients are a popular visual design element in app UI design. They enhance depth, add dimension, and create visual interest. When incorporating gradients into your design, it's essential to consider factors such as the app's color scheme, overall aesthetic, and the intended purpose of the gradient. A subtle gradient can introduce texture without overshadowing other elements, while a more pronounced gradient can produce a dramatic effect. Today, we're going to explore linear and angular gradients. We often use linear gradients to create a smooth transition between two or more colors in a straight line, typically from one side of an object to another. You can control the angle and direction of the gradient to achieve different effects. An angular gradient differs from a linear gradient in that it radiates from a central point, creating a circular or radial effect. With an angular gradient, you can control the angle and position of the center point from which the colors emanate. To make things easier for you, I've created predefined color styles, which are predefined color values that can be applied to objects and text within your designs. Let's return to our Figma file and prepare to continue from where we left off. Select the presentation frame and change the color style to background presentation. Then change the first and the second frames to background frame 1. For the last frame, change it to background frame 2. Select the curve shape in the first frame and apply the layout curve style. Add a stroke, fill with the stroke layout curve style. Then apply a drop shadow effect with Y offset of 40 and a blur of 50. Use black color at 25% opacity. Set the blend mode to overlay. You can see that the shadow is subtle. Drop shadows are often used more subtly in dark mode than in light mode. They might have lower opacity and softer edges to maintain the darker aesthetic while providing depth benefits. Now, select the curve shape in the third frame and apply the layout small curved style. Add a stroke, fill with the stroke layout curve style. Then apply a drop shadow effect with Y offset of 40 and a blur of 50. use black color at 25% opacity. Set the blend mode to overlay, exactly how we did with the curve shape in the first frame. Next, select the rectangles on the curve shape and apply the layout horizontal style. Add a stroke with white color at 50% and set the blend mode to overlay. Select the search button, fill it with the button search style. Add a stroke using the color white at 100% opacity and select the blend mode overlay. Now, select the circle, fill it with frame icon, and add a stroke using the stroke frame icon style. Let's move on to segment control, where I'll show you how to use colors and gradients manually without using the color styles. We're going to create an unselected and selected option. We will use the linear for the unselected, and for the selected, we will use the angular gradients. Select the square shape and fill with a linear gradient. When you choose the linear option, you automatically see a straight line with two color stops. The first color will be 6, 2, 4, FB, and B, and the second color will be 6, A, 4, 6B, and 2. Then I want to add a stop in the middle with the color 8, C, 6, B, B, and D. After that, add a stroke with the color white. Choose an overlay so the color will blend with the background. Reduce the opacity of the color to 50%. Now, we'll create a 3D shape effect by using an additional shape and playing with the gradient. It's very simple and only takes a few steps. First, duplicate the square shape and position it below with a spacing of 4 units. Next, we will delete the stroke. Then, open the color picker and remove one color stop so we're left with only 2. The color stop at the bottom will stay in the same place, but the upper one will be adjusted slightly toward the corner of the edge before the curve. Change the first color to 5, D, 0, 6, C, and D. Then copy the colors code. Reduce the opacity to 0%, then select the second color stop and paste the colors code with 100% opacity. We will create a shadow underneath the shape that will give the impression that the shape is floating or standing upright. Press on R and create a rectangle of 94 by 6. You can see that the layer has been included in the auto layout flow. That's not what I want, so I'll put it in the icon frame align center and at the bottom of my 3D shape. Then I'm going to round my corner to 10. Go to Fill, choose Linear, place the line horizontally and add 2 more stop colors where the curve of my shape begins. All 4 stop colors are black, but the 2 in the corner will be at 0% and the rest at 100%. Then we will add layer blur to a value of 10. Then name the layer by shadow and place it below the 3D shape. What we're going to do is copy the second square and the shadow layer, duplicate it, put it in the stays container and align it with the shape. Repeat the same process, copy it and put it in the other car container and align it. Next, we're going to copy the property of the square layer in the flight container and paste property to the square in the car container. Sorry, I changed my mind because I wanted to make the shadow more realistic, so I'd like to increase the size of my width to 120 instead. Now let's create the selected layout. I took my inspiration from the Apple WWDC schedule. While exploring the WWDC 23 event on the Developer Apple website, I found this schedule layout and wanted to recreate it. We're going to add the first rectangle inside a frame. Select the rectangle, right-click, and click on the Frame section. I'm going to name the rectangle Outline. I need to use the frame and shape rectangle together to create the effect I want. Remove the fill from the rectangle, then select the frame. We will focus on the frame first and then the rectangle after that. So, select the frame, set the corner radius to 20, add fill, choose linear gradient, keep the line in vertical, then the first color is 6D, 4, 1, C, and E, and the second is 8D2, 0, C, and 2. Next, we're going to add stroke using the color white and choose overlay. Now select the rectangle inside the frame. Add a stroke. The position of the stroke is from the center and the weight size is 8. Then open the color picker and choose Angular Gradient. We'll add 2 more stop colors for a total of 4. We'll place 1 in each corner. The color at top left is F1, 1C4, and A. And the color at the top right is 7A0CF and C. The color at bottom left is FF50 and 0. And the color at the bottom right is EE0D1 and E. Now we're going to add another color for the stroke. This time we will use the linear gradient, making our outline even more colorful. We're going to keep the line vertical. The first color is 4, 8, 7, EE, and 9, and the second color is DB, 2, 4, 2, and 4. We're going to blend the color with the Angular using the overlay. I want my outline to be blurred, so I'm going to add a blur effect to my outline. Go to Effect, Add Layer Blur, and set 10 on the value. However, I want the blur to stay within my container. To do this, select the frame and clip content. Here's the problem solved. We'll change the symbol's color to pure white to make it stand out even more. Set the opacity to 100%. We'll make the frame's background darker by increasing the opacity to 30% to get more contrast. Now let's move on to the third frame, where the price tracking layout is located. This time, I'm going to use color styles. It will be the same as we did with the segment control in the first frame. It's the same principle. Place the first rectangle inside a frame. It will be the selected option. Select the frame, set the corner radius to 30, and fill it with layout price tracking selected. We can't see the color because of the rectangle on the inside. Select the rectangle and remove the color. Then go back to the frame and add a stroke of color white and blend it with overlay. Select the rectangle inside the frame, add stroke, and fill with the color style outline selected price tracking. The weight size is 8 and the position is from the center. Then add layer blur to 16. Now, we're going to create the unselected option for the 3 other rectangles. Select the 3 rectangles, fill with the layout price tracking unselected color style. Then, add stroke of the color white, blend with the overlay option, and reduce the opacity to 50%. Now let's move on to the toggle button. First, detach the style and fill with linear gradient. Place the line in horizontal. The first color is white and the second color is black. Reduce the opacity to 30%. Next, add stroke with the color white. Choose the blend mode overlay and reduce the opacity to 50%. Now select the circle and name the layer by knob and the rectangle by base, the group by toggle. Select the circle, detach the style, and fill with linear, then place the line in horizontal. The first color is 6, D4, 1C, and E, and the second color is 8, D2, 0C, and 2. Next, add stroke with the color white. Choose the blend mode to overlay. Reduce the opacity to 30% and add drop shadow, and set 10 on the Y value, and blur to 20 with the color 2, 8, 1, D, 5, and 5. Set the opacity to 50%. We're going to add shadow on the price layout. First, select the unselected frame, set to 30 on the corner radius. After that, select all the 4 frames and add drop shadow, set 20 on the Y value and 50 on the blur with the color black at 25%. Now, let's move to the ticket layout, where we'll concentrate on the child container on the left side. Initially, I intended to align it with the text baseline. However, I noticed that the 2 containers had inconsistent padding, particularly on the left side and the top. What's crucial is ensuring that the padding on the left side and the top matches. First, I'm going to ungroup the child container on the left side, align it to the left in the alignment box, and then name the layer left side. After that, I'll remove all the settings to start over. Set 20 for both horizontal and vertical padding. Then change the resizing option to hug contents. I'll increase the spacing until it reaches the bottom of my parent container, so the gap between items will be 14. The important thing is that the padding is 20 at the top and left. Now, let's select the child container on the right side and name the layer right side. I want to apply the same settings, 20 for both top and left padding. First, align it to the left in the alignment box, and then set 20 for both horizontal and vertical padding. To achieve a 20-pixel padding, you should first change the resizing option to hug contents. Otherwise, it won't work. Set the spacing between items to 13 and use 48 for the vertical padding on the right. Make sure the parent container has a spacing of 20 from the frame. Select the left side and fill it with the color 5, C, 2, 9, 6, and 4. Set the top left and bottom left corner radii to 20. I need to fix the bottom of my child container. It's missing a pixel and needs readjustment. The height size should be set to 120. Now, select the right side container and fill it with a horizontal linear gradient. The first color is 2, E, 1, 6, 4, and 6. The second color is 5, C, 2, 9, 6, and 4. Next, set the top right and bottom left corner radius to 20. Then, select the left container and reduce the opacity to 90%. Select the parent container and add a stroke with the color 8, 6, 7, 1, E, and C, reducing the opacity to 20%. Set the position to inside and enable content clipping for the container. Also, apply a drop shadow with a 10-pixel Y value, a 20-pixel blur radius using the color black, and set the opacity to 30%. Now, let's create a separator in the middle of the two child containers using a dashed line. Press L to create a line with a length of 119 and set the rotation to -90 degrees. Add the line inside the auto layout between the two child containers and name the layer separator. Select the parent container and go to Advanced Auto Layout Settings and set to First on Top in the canvas stacking. Select back the separator and go to Advanced Setting and choose Dash. Set the dash and gap value to 4. Also, add a drop shadow with an X offset of 0.5, use the color white, and set the opacity to 25%. Let me explain the settings for the dash. This style involves a series of dashes with customizable lengths and spaces in between. The dash length refers to the shorter segments of the line. To make them longer, increase the dash value. The gap represents the space between each dash. By increasing the gap value, you can create more distance between the dashes. I'll leave it to you to copy and replace the other two ticket layouts. That's it for this section. In the next section, we will add images to our design and complete the rest of it, including creating the tab bar and buttons, as well as adding colors and images to our card. See you soon. Welcome back. We've reached the final section where we need to create the tab bar, add images, buttons, and the card. Let's get started. Sometimes finding the perfect image for your project can feel like one of the most time-consuming parts of your design process. That's why we will use Midjourney to generate our unique image, a fantastic platform that inspires creativity in various areas, such as images, app icons, and UI design. In our recent course, we explored the immense potential of Midjourney, and once you experience its benefits, it's hard to look elsewhere. You will find the images and prompts in my Figma file. If you're unfamiliar with Midjourney, we have the perfect tutorial to help you get started, the ultimate guide to Midjourney V5 for UI designers, available for free on YouTube. Getting high-quality and affordable images can be challenging. Thankfully, Unsplash provides free stock photos, my second favorite resource for images. You can easily add beautiful images to your designs using the Unsplash plugin in Figma. Unsplash has an extensive collection of high-resolution images that you can use for free. These photos are shared by photographers who have waived all rights to them, making them available to the public without any copyright worries. We'll pick up where we left off. The first step is to add images. As I mentioned, you can find all the images I'm using in my design in the Prompts and Images page. Copy the image and return to the page you're working on. Next, select the rectangle within the card frame and replace it with the image we just copied. We're going to resize the image using the Scale tool. To activate it, press the K key and then drag its edges to resize. Next, we'll round the corners of our frame. Simply select your frame and set the corner radius to 20. Now select the contents container and remove the style from the Fill section. Open the color picker and choose Linear. Keep the line straight in the vertical direction and add 2 color stops at the bottom of the image. The first color is #313A5 and B with 0% opacity. Next, create a separator using the 2 color stops on the line but with different opacities. The second color stop is at 20% opacity and the third is at 100% opacity, which will create a distinct line. The last color for the background is #2, 1, 2, 7, 3, and D. You can also consider adding a background blur if you need more contrast between the text and the image, although it's optional. Finally, add a white stroke with a blending mode set to Overlay. I don't want to have a curve at the bottom of my image frame. To achieve this, I'll select my image frame once more, go to the corner radius, choose Independent Corners, and set the bottom left and bottom right corner radius to 0. Now copy the container and paste it into the other container. Let's now shift our focus to the slider images in the first frame. To begin, I'll unclip the content so I can see all the layers inside this frame and hide the home indicator. Return to the Prompts and Images page, copy the image, and then return to the Workspace page. Insert the image inside a frame by adding a rectangle and label the layer as Card 1. Next, select the rectangle, right-click, and opt for Paste to replace. Finally, set the corner radius to 20 and clip content. Let's proceed to the bottom of our image. To add text, press T and choose the subheading Regular Text Style. Type Visit of Mount Fuji and surroundings and ensure the text is centered. Now place the text in an auto layout. To match the width of my image, I'll set the width value to 200. You can remove the spacing value between items while keeping the padding at 10. Make sure to align the container at the bottom of the image. Now, we need to add a background to our container without obscuring the image behind it. I have 2 examples to illustrate our approach. On my right, I've used a transparent color with background blur, but what I want is a gradient with a smooth effect that blurs the line, making it less visible. So instead of filling the container directly, I'm adding a rectangle and using absolute positioning to place it on top of my container. I apply all the settings that I used for the second example, but I also add layer blur to achieve a smooth, blurred effect. If I have the layer blur on the second container, it results in text blurring. That's why we're going to add a rectangle inside the container. Let's return to where we left off. As mentioned earlier, create a rectangle and then click on Absolute Position. Place it on top of the container and adjust the rectangle's size to 224 by 62. Select the rectangle and go to Fill, Linear. The 2 color will be the same, 2, 1, 2, 7, 3, and D at 0% at the top and 100% at the bottom. Add background of 4. You'll notice that the text becomes blurred. To fix this, place the rectangle layer on top of the text layer within the container. Then apply a layer blur of 20. Add a white stroke with the Overlay blending mode and reduce its opacity to 30%. Next, select the parent frame and apply a drop shadow with a Y offset of 40, a blur of 40, and use the color black with an opacity of 30%. I'll now assign you the task of repeating the same process with the other cards. Feel free to rewind the video to review the steps as needed. Next, we'll proceed to work on the tab bar and buttons. Now press F to create a frame measuring 361 by 64. Set the corner radius to 20. Fill it with the tab bar background color style. Add a stroke using the tab bar background stroke color style, and apply the tab bar background effects style as an effect. Open the SF Symbols app and search for the map, suitcase, magnifying glass, bell, and person symbols. Select the outline versions of these symbols. After you've found all the symbols, adjust their height and size to medium and 18 and set the color to white. We're going to place each symbol inside a container using Auto Layout. Press Shift+A to add it to Auto Layout. Change the width size to 48 and leave the height size at 40. Ensure it's aligned to the center and then name the layer Tab 1. Repeat the same process for each symbol. After that, select all the tab containers and add them to Auto Layout. Set the gap between items to 24. Name the Auto Layout frame as Menu and align it in the center of the frame. To make my tab bar look more exciting, I want to add a shape inside the container to create the effect of it being pressed or having a hole. First, I'll activate the ruler tool and place 2 red lines where my symbols are. Since the suitcase is the largest, I'll stop at this symbol. Next, I'll use the rectangle tool by pressing R and create a rectangle between the red lines. The color is not important at this stage. It's just for reference, so I'll make it transparent and set the corner radius to 20. Then, we'll use the ellipse tool by pressing O to create a circle of 40 diameter. Align it with the first symbol until the 2 lines intersect, forming a cross. This indicates that it's centered. Select the rectangle and the circle, go to the Boolean group option in the top menu, and choose Union Selection. This will merge them into a single shape. Now, duplicate the union layer. Select the first union and fill it with the tab bar shape 1 inch color style. Fill the second union with the tab bar shape 2 inches color style. Place the menu layer at the top of the layer list and name the frame Tab Bar. Group the 2 union layers and name the group Shape. Select all the unselected symbols and choose the blend mode Overlay. We'll create a line underneath the shape with a subtle drop shadow. Select the second union layer. Apply a drop shadow with a Y offset of 0.5, set the color to white, and reduce the opacity to 50% while using the overlay blending mode. The last step is to create the selected tab. Press O to create a circle with dimensions of 40 by 40. Place the circle on top of the map symbol, ensuring it is centered over the hole. Duplicate the circle. Select the first circle, fill it with Tab Bar Selected One, and apply a layer blur with a value of 10. For the second circle, apply a stroke using Tab Bar Selected Stroke. Place the 2 circles in a group and name it Selected. Unhide the home indicator and position the tab bar at the top of it. Place the home indicator layer at the top of the layer list. You don't have to follow these exact steps, but if you want to make your shape more unique, you can stretch the left end of the shape to the left to eliminate any left-hand curve. This will result in a straight line on the left side and a curved right side. The final step involves adding 2 buttons. After that, we'll perform a last checkup, and we're finished. You will need the slide vertical symbol, set it to semi-bold with a size of 15, and change the color to white. Then, add the text and type filters using a semi-bold and size 15 with the color white. Then place the symbol and the text in an auto layout. Set the spacing between items to 10, horizontal padding to 20, and vertical padding to 10. Then align in the center and set the corners to 20. Fill it with button setting color style, add a white stroke, and apply the overlay. Then, add a background with a value of 10, and also add a drop shadow with a Y offset of 10, a blur of 30, and a color of 1, B, 0, C, 5, and 7. Copy the button and replace the two rectangles. Change the text from the third frame to More option. Align the button, and the spacing from the home indicator is 16. The final step is to adjust the spacing in the first frame. First, select the layouts in the control segment. The spacing is 40 from the top and 28 from the right. Next, select the input field, and the spacing from the segment control is 40, with 20 between them. Then, set the spacing from the button to the input field to 32. Well done, everyone! You've successfully recreated this design while learning how to use Figma. I hope you like and enjoy the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, in the comments below, please let me know what you'd like to learn next. See you soon. Bye.